How's it going, team? Welcome back to another episode of the Average Jacks podcast. And today we are solo, so tune in for some more dulcet Wigan tones, unfortunately. But today's episode is about self-improvement. So self-improvement is supposed to make your life better. But you see, some people, they end up feeling more anxious, guilty, burnt out, and almost never satisfied on the pursuit of self-improvement. So I thought I'd come on today and share my own experience with self-improvement, being the host of a self-improvement podcast, and sort of both sides of the coin of self-improvement. It's brilliant. I am a massive, massive advocate of self-improvement, and I believe that we should all aim to be a better version of ourselves. We should all be aiming for growth and pushing our own comfort zones and trying to be better people day in, day out, however that may look. And whoever the individual is, I believe that we're all very unique, but we do have quite similar problems. If you imagine a Venn diagram, I imagine the crossover of everyone's problems. There's going to be quite often overlap in that. So a big thing for me, and sort of what I wanted to talk about, was looking at both sides of things and probably starting with the good side first. We'll start off on the right foot and we'll not try and be a Debbie Downer. Sorry, Debbie. I don't know why that's an expression, but unfortunately it is. But like, self-improvement changed my life massively. And if you're a listener of the podcast or you've seen the content and you've seen the guests that we've had, a massive focal point and maybe the central focus, maybe not the central focus, but one of the main focuses of the podcast has always been fitness and health. And I've been unfit, unhealthy, unwell, and I've probably been at the other end of that spectrum where I've pushed it too hard and gone too far and maybe been chasing the wrong things. But being fit was the catalyst for everything else. Training regularly, having a good diet, being hydrated, these things, again, the cliches, and you hear them constantly. And you'll hear me say constantly that, if something's a cliche, it's often true. And I wholeheartedly believe this. But fitness, for me, is the foundation of everything else. If there was a pyramid and each layer of the pyramid was something else, fitness would be the foundation and the basis of my well-being pyramid, to say. And when you're fit and you're healthy, and that doesn't need to be like six-pack, you're a fucking ultra-marathon runner, you're a crossfitter, a high rocks athlete. I think fitness can be subjective. I think there's obviously definitely parameters that you can follow and find to be super fit, like them examples I've just given there. But, as long as you're moving and getting out there and releasing them endorphins and feeling what it feels like to move, then I believe you will definitely lead a better life. And for me, when I do that, I feel more confident. I feel more disciplined because I'm doing shit that's tough. I'm doing things that I'm getting up early, I'm seizing the day, I'm doing the hard things first, and then the rest of the day is a doddle. Everything else feels like a reward from that point. For me, I was never really a morning person, but the discipline that comes with fitness, and you've got other shit going on in your life, you've got jobs, you've got podcasts to run, you have side hustles, you have commitments, friends, family. None of them things should hinder or be sacrificed to a degree, in my opinion. You should maybe have a little bit of everything, but if you're going to be fitness focused, you have to fit it in there and you have to make time. And for me, I made times in the morning. So that's where like fitness, confidence, discipline sort of became this trident of my daily life and my self-improvement and what I was aiming to do. And the podcast, that's something as well that has been massive for self-improvement, speaking to these guests, speaking to people from different walks of life, different aspects of life, but also speaking to people in similar aspects of life and similar positions, maybe a little bit further ahead than me, some maybe starting their journey from a different point or are at the start of their journey and not as far in as me. And them spectrums are massive to be able to learn from people, who have done what you want to do. But also, the best way to learn is to teach. And again, I believe that. I'm a personal trainer. I've had experience in teaching people and coaching people, and no one person is the same. So you learn more by being able to explain different things to different people in different ways, and it gives you a new outlook and perspective on different things. So yeah, I think that for me, my journey with self-improvement has definitely been and started with fitness, and that was the catalyst of everything else. Because when you feel like you look better, and that's a different subject and probably a podcast in itself, you feel more confident. When you feel more confident, you're willing to take on new shit. You're willing to push yourself to different levels and push them boundaries where you probably didn't have the enthusiasm or the confidence before. So like for me, because I was in a good space and I felt I needed a new challenge because I was doing well with what I was doing, the podcast then became the next step of that. But if I hadn't have been looking after myself, looking after my well-being, not just my mental health, but my health and physical health, I probably would have never gone down this avenue and then learned everything that I've learned on this journey of the last 70 episodes. And again, a massive thing that I believe is habits, and we all have habits that we're probably doing that we're not self-aware. They're just autopilot. It's just stuff we do that we've ingrained into ourselves. And a big one for me, and I'm a big fan, I'm a big Monster boy. Love a can of goth piss. Sorry if you don't. But that just became a habit for me of having one every day. And they didn't really provide anything. I mean, they taste banging. Go drink. If you don't believe so, soz, but you're wrong. But again, it was just a habit that I'd be like, oh, I've been to the gym, crack a Monster, yeah, it's there, but it wasn't really providing anything for me. And when I like sat back and thought about it, I thought maybe I should just have it occasionally and not as a one-off, and see how that feels. And ultimately, there was no difference. I probably felt a little bit better. But again, that's how you create habits, is sometimes you just do shit that you don't even realise you're doing. And self-reflection is a massive tool. And that sort of segues nicely into where I'm going next, and that's taking ownership. Self-improvement is a massive thing, and there's so much content out there. And we'll get onto this point after this point, is that it can be all-consuming and almost debilitating, the fact that there's so much content out there, there's so many conflicting opinions, and you almost get bombarded by, they've said do this, actually that's bullshit, that this is what you want to do. No, that's bullshit as well, and that's bullshit, this is what you want to do. So you end up in this fucking washing machine of just, what do I do? Where do I go? Who do I listen to? And again, a big thing for me was I've been in that position, and I wanted to maybe, hopefully, shed some light through that and sort of say to the everyday person that as long as it's bringing you, making you a better person, it's not causing harm to others, or it's not a fucking pyramid scheme, or it's hurting anybody or hurting you, then as long as it's making you happy and you feel like you're doing something and you're getting benefit from it, then what does it matter? What does it actually? It's like intermittent fasting. You'll see some people and they'll be like, fucking intermittent fasting is just restricting your calories. Yeah, it is. That's not wrong. But if you feel better doing 16-8, where you don't eat for 16 hours, then eat in an 8-hour window, and you feel more energized and you feel revitalized, and your body feels better, you've lost like a bit of inflammation, this, that, and the other. Who's that person to say, oh, well, it's just a stupid way of doing a calorie restriction just to stop you feeling all them benefits? Ultimately, you've got to take ownership of your own ship and be the captain of that vessel. And listen to people. Hopefully you listen to me. But some things I say, you might turn around and be like, what's this big dickhead think he's going on about and what he knows? But that's good. I feel like you should challenge the narrative sometimes, and I feel like you should ask questions. You should always be a student. And this is where, again, you have to tread that line very carefully, because you can then end up being down them rabbit holes. So take ownership, try it, see. Don't just be a student. And I think what I'm trying to make with this point is I'm very much someone who can read and read and read and watch a video, watch this video and be like, yeah, shit out that. Yeah, let's do this, let's do that. But then when it actually comes to application, it doesn't suit my lifestyle. It doesn't suit who I am and what I do. But all that time I've ultimately spent reading and watching and procrastinating on this idea. And then when it actually comes to application, I never do fuck all with it. Then that time is time lost. I should have implemented it sooner. I should have took action sooner. So it's all well and good to sort of absorb, but sometimes you need to use what you've absorbed and put it into action and definitely try it for yourself. And I've been bad for that in the past. And hopefully when I'm talking about this today and sort of some of maybe the more downsides to self-improvement, but also the good sides, like the good sides I've just mentioned, the discipline, confidence, becoming in charge, being able to self-reflect, taking ownership, doing things that you want to do, sort of separating yourself from the herd mentality and being like, actually guys, going out on a weekend and drinking and doing this shit is not for me. But also that can also be, actually, why the fuck do I want to run around with my top off for 50 minutes doing burpee broad jumps and ski ergs? I've done that. I appreciate it's not for everybody. But again, no one is really right and no one is really wrong to a degree. There's always exceptions to the rule. But what I also want to talk about today is I also think there's a point where self-improvement stops being healthy towards growth and can be an obsession. And I sort of touched on that caveat just then. I am the main culprit of this and can become obsessive, can be almost too harsh on myself and always strive for another goal without hitting the first goal. Or when you do hit the first goal, you sort of take the enjoyment out of it and the achievement out of it because it's something else. Right, well, I've done that now. That's put to bed and that's ignored. What's next? And being reflective and wanting to improve on yourself, you have to analyze everything, be the wins, be the losses. And I think from my experience, you have to sit and feel them. I think you have to sit and be with them moments to really appreciate your progress as an individual, because if you don't sit and you don't reflect and you don't take that time, it can become numbing and you can almost not realize how far you've come. And for me, the podcast has been the main example of this. I've not got thousands of subscribers. I've got a few hundred subscribers, which is brilliant. But there was definitely a point at the start of this where I was like, why the fuck is no one listening? Why is no one subscribing? Why is this not happening? Why is that not happening? What am I doing wrong? Blah, blah, blah. But if you flip that narrative and you look at, fucking hell, I've got a couple of hundred people here that listen to me sitting in my box room or in a fancy studio with guests, everyday people, and they like it. They come back for more. Right, so if they like it and they come back for more, that means I'm doing something right. What am I doing right? So even in that example there, you can see that sometimes to just even sit and think about the smallest achievement and appreciate that achievement and appreciate that you have been at the catalyst of that is massive. And I think it's only motivating to take you further. And going back to fitness, like the gym is one of the best cultures to implement in your own life because failure is accepted. In the gym, it's one of the few places where you'll go, I've just got that rep, fuck it, let's go for another. And if you fail, you're like, that's annoying, but I nearly got it. In a couple of weeks, I'll go again. Oh, I got that one. Right, one more rep. Oh, actually, this time, them reps are easy. I'm going to go for more weight. Oh, shit, didn't get as many reps as last time. All good. All gravy. But if you did that in your everyday life, you'd be like, I'm a fucking failure. Why have I done this again? Can't catch a break. Blah, blah, blah. I've done it. Probably still do it now. And it's really easy to always have another goal, want a better physique, want a better routine. I'm sat here saying, get a routine, build better habits. But it gets to a point of where the glass ceiling is reached and you can't have, well, you probably can, but you're going to get to a point of where you have so many habits that fucking your life is just ruled, and there's just nothing else. It'll just be robotic. It'll just be monotonous, constant. This. And some people can live like that. You might be one of them people. Fair play to you. Impressive. But me and most people need some change, need some variety is probably the best word, to keep them not going insane. Keep them not, just throwing the baby out with the bathwater. And again, it's difficult, and I'm sat here not hoping to share my experience and make you feel like, well, I'm not the only one, or I've done this, or that's something that I could do better. But it's about not turning your life into a performance. And this, again, with the podcast, is something that has been a very, not a sore subject, but a subject that I've had to tread the line very carefully. And you've got social media, which I don't think is the devil. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. I think it has its perks, but it's all about the echo chamber that you create. Whatever you're watching on social media and whatever you're feeding the algorithm to feed back to you, can be extremely detrimental. If you look at your screen time, if you're someone that's on it constantly and always in the trenches of social media, if you're watching shit that's making you feel like shit, that thing is just going to keep thinking, actually, they like watching this. Let's just keep fucking forcing it down the necks, putting it down the throat, and then you end up on this rabbit wheel of just, oh my god, why do I not look like this person? Why do I not do this? Why have I not got fucking this expensive watch? Or why have I not got an e-commerce business that's making me 10 grand a week? There's bollocks everywhere, literally. People probably think that about me. People probably look and go, who is he? Who is he to sit here and do that? And they can have their opinion. And I'm not going to sit here and say that I don't do this. Well, how should I word this? I'm not going to sit here and say that when I do this, it's not nice to get validation, because it is. It's not nice to be able to share success with people, because it is. But it's not the main reason that I do it. It's a byproduct of why I do it. The main reason why I do it is to help people. And if I can help people and then also get them other things along the way, that's great. It's like I've talked about making money on the podcast, which I don't. And I have no problem talking about that. I'm very transparent. But if I wasn't someone who'd been down this self-improvement journey and understood that there's challenges, but through the challenges is where the rewards come and where the real magic happens, that nearly 2 years in, or maybe just over 2 years in, and I've not made a penny from this podcast. If my only reason to do this podcast was to actually squeeze money out of people, then it would never have lasted this long. But it's about staying true to your values and staying true to your morals, and again, going back to reflection and being able to look at who you are and what you want to do, and not being caught up in sort of the toxic misconceptions of like modern society. If you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to be hustling, grinding, bro. Don't do this. It's a challenge, and we all get sucked into it. I get sucked into it still. So you're not weird, and you're not unusual for probably feeling discontent sometimes and not feeling that you're smashing it, or not feeling that you've got all your ducks in a row. Guess fucking what? That's more normal than probably 90% of the content you're seeing on social media. And a lot of what social media is just toxic productivity. Toxic productivity, it's one of these things that it makes you feel guilty about like resting. So like today I took a rest day, I felt shit. I felt so bad. I trained, did my steps, did some stuff at work, and I sat down and I was like, I am fucked. What am I going to do with the rest of the day? Am I going to go train again? Which I was meant to. And then I was like having this internal battle in my head and being like, oh, it's not good enough. It's not good enough that you want to rest. But then I'm thinking, actually, well, if I do rest, that's probably going to be better for my recovery. And then if I recover better, I can train better. And you got this like angel and demon on your shoulder. And I'm like, why am I like gaslighting myself into doing that when I genuinely feel shit. I'm not actually just sat here going, oh, I'm looking for an excuse, because that's the difference. That's where you have to find that line, and self-improvement and being able to internally look inside helps, because you're honest with yourself. If you can be honest with yourself, you'll know if you're bullshitting. And today was one of the examples where I wasn't bullshitting. There are days when I do, but I still had it. I still had this toxic productivity, the feeling where I'm definitely ADHD, and I have this thing where, like, if I've got a hobby, I'm fucking balls to the wall. I'm doing it every day. I'm fucking gonna become the next best thing for it. Pickleball, love it. I was like, yeah, fucking my toxic trait and my toxic productivity is like, I could probably be in the Olympics for that. News to the flash. Definitely couldn't. But I'm like, gotta keep doing it. It's a hobby. I enjoy it. Let's fucking bash it to death. Absence makes the heart grow fond. Sometimes it's not about doing things 100 miles an hour. It's about just having it as a tool, as an outlet, having it as something that doesn't control your life. And I think it's like one of them things that, if you think about habits and what we do, it's bizarre. Fucking people don't even like go for a fucking dog walk anymore without listening to their AirPods, listening about YouTube, about biohacking sleep, or how to invest into a stocks and shares ISA and retire by the time you're 40. And I've done all these things and probably will do these things going forward. But how mad is it that we're in a society where you can't just like take 10 to go for a walk, you can't just break it down. And sometimes stepping away is probably the most powerful tool. And it's about finding balance. Ultimately, I feel like we're all comparing to other people. And especially for men, like physique, money, income is a big one. You know, we're all worried about more money. Yeah, it'd be great to make more money. Yes, times are fucking tough for everybody. And to find that golden nugget on how to make a few more quid and feel a bit more comfortable would be excellent. But it's so thrown down our throats. And this is why I got people on like Sammy Allard King, who's one of the leading finance voices on social media in the country, talking real shit and like putting it into actual perspective about, you know, this is what you should be doing. These are the basics. Focus on core foundations and avoiding debt, hustle mentality, consumerism, all that sort of stuff. And there's so many different things that you see, because the internet does expose us to the 1%. It does expose us to unusual human beings. Like, I use Goggins as an example constantly. He's a freak of nature. Yeah, great, like, work ethic. Something you could aspire to be, unless you're Matt Shepherd, because Matt Shepherd is literally a Goggins motherfucker. Shout out to Matt. He's one of the 1%. Karen Ennis, another 1%er, literally swims in jellyfish infested water for 16 hours, getting stung to death and just gangsters on through. But they're 1%ers. Doesn't mean you're a 1%er, and it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with that. I'm not a 1%er. Probably never will be a 1%er. This podcast will probably never be a 1%er. But as long as it brings you something and it brings value and you feel like you're getting better and it's helping other people to get better, long may it continue. And I think identity becomes the achievement. I think being someone that is unique and not getting caught up in what everyone else is doing, sometimes that's right. Sometimes it makes sense. Community is great. Community is vital. Friends, family, relationships are key to well-being. But, you know, if you have an identity and it's for the right reasons, people will look up to you. People will have esteem towards what you do. And it's very, very easy to do things and do them just because, again, it's a bad habit we've built. Not a bad habit, but just a habit, and you don't feel very present in what you're doing. You get anxiety about this thing that you're doing. It leads to burnout, which is a real thing. I know some people don't say that, but I don't agree with them. And you've lost enjoyment for something. And going back to before when I was talking about, I do things to a point of where I just lose the love for it. I lose the enjoyment of it. And a long time ago, I would have just continued doing it for keeping face. And that is not what you should be doing as an individual. But if you can improve your life and you don't hate yourself when you're doing it, and you don't hate the people that you're with who are helping you do it or not helping you do it, winner. Discipline matters, but so does internal peace. And that might seem heavy, but it's true. And my advice would be, don't do things for the wrong reasons, from someone who has done things for the wrong reasons and not for maybe self-implicated reasons to keep other people happy and be a yes man. It's not healthy and it doesn't lead to anywhere good usually. Ambition is good, obsession isn't, to a degree. I think there's a healthy obsession and then there's to a point of where it's all consuming, and to be obsessed is validated a lot online, but I also think people don't take into the consideration the extremes of obsession and where it can go. That is definitely one that is food for thought. Growth should improve your life, not consume it. And I think I'll end that there. Because there was a phrase that I was saying, and I've got it wrote down here, because I've actually got some notes today, but I've gone completely off point, is the goal shouldn't be becoming some perfectly optimized human. The goal should probably be just becoming healthier, happier, and more fulfilled. And some questions that I wrote down that you can ask yourself: when does discipline become obsession? Are we actually happier than before we started? Insert here. Have we forgotten how to just enjoy life, a hobby, an event, a pastime? And the main one was, are we building ourselves or running from ourselves? I'm someone who ran from myself for a long time. And then when I ran into it and not away from it, that was probably the most I ever built myself up. And I've continued to build myself up. So I'll leave you with that. And hopefully it brought you some benefit, it brought you some clarity, it brought you some connection to somebody else, and you don't feel like you're on your own, and it hopefully shared some insight into the madness of my mind. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the episode. We've got plenty of guests lined up over the next couple of weeks, so it won't just be me waffling shite. But hopefully the shite can be useful and you can connect to it to a degree. And I'll see you all very soon. But yeah, keep learning, keep striving for more, and ultimately keep trying to become a version of yourself that you would love and would want a beer with, or a coffee, or just a chat. Peace, team. Big love. See you soon.